So welcome everybody. We are starting our session number 5, which is Yoga of Work or Akarma, where we'll talk about how to become free, how to work in such a way that we become free from the reactions of karma.
I think we already talked, yeah.
So the whole discussion started because Arjuna was confused between working and renouncing work. He felt that renouncing the work is better for him to get out of that situation, but Krishna turns that around. We'll talk about the yoga of work. Krishna also emphasizes a lot working according to our nature, not being artificial about who we are, recognizing what our skills and strengths are and working according to that, not artificially trying to be somebody else.
It's quite interesting because in current times we talk about becoming authentic, and it's something that is so such a contemporary idea, but actually a book that was 5,000 years ago. They're talking about not repressing our nature, and Krishna says, what will repression accomplish? So we'll talk about that, and at the same time, how do we work with detachment? And we'll also talk about how this detachment is not a cold, I don't care kind of a detachment, but it's really detachment from the fruits. And that frees us. It actually allows us, empowers us to be free from the just constantly worrying about the results. And we are able to really give ourselves completely to our work and experience great satisfaction. And also, we'll also talk about what to do with those results, because the results will come when we engage in any kind of work. And that's Akarma.
Yeah, and that's working to become free from karma. So we are working. Work is not going to stop. That's the nature. Krishna says, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarma krit. That not even for a moment anybody can be inactive. Even though we may be inactive physically, but our mind is always working. So that is also work. So how can we work so that we become free from karma? And then we'll end with 6 steps to transforming our actions into a karma, because we need practical things to do that we can apply right away and see the benefits for ourselves.
So we talked about this. This is Arjuna's big conflict. Should I work or should I retire? And his whole mode is that let me just go away. This is too hard for me. Let me just give up. And a lot of times people actually think of spiritual life as a form of escapism. Like, oh my God, family life is too hard. I'm just going to give up my family, just go off. And that's one reason why it's kind of created some chaos in society, right? As soon as somebody tries to take interest in spiritual life, the one big fear that comes up in the heart is like, oh my God, this person is now going to be the most irresponsible human being, irresponsible towards his family, towards his work, towards society. But actually, that was Arjuna in the beginning. And we'll see how this conflict is actually this understanding of what is renunciation and what is action is not completely understood.
Yeah, spirituality is many times considered contrary to living a happy life. And in India, especially, if somebody picks up Bhagavad Gita at an early age, the parents get really alarmed and they freak out, thinking that, oh, my child is gone now. He will lose interest in work and he will lose interest in family and society, and he will become a recluse. But it's quite the opposite understanding, because spirituality and active life, they go very well together. And it's just that when we understand how to be properly spiritual, then that covers all the bases in our life, including our material life, family life, financial life, social life, any kind of life that we may have. It nourishes, just like the roots. When the roots are nourished, then the whole plant is healthy. So when we properly nourish our roots spiritually, then all aspects of our life, they will flourish.
You can watch this maybe.
Yeah, this is like the classic blue or red pill.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So many times we think it's the red pill or the blue pill, and we have to make a choice between the two. But Krishna is offering a choice which is beyond either the red or the blue pill. We don't have to make this or that choice. Because it is
Actually,
hard. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that, yeah, I mean, both are possible. And that reconciliation of two seemingly opposite ends of the spectrum happens through the process of this idea or this concept of akarma. And we can see that, this is actually one of the most amazing things about the Bhagavad Gita, that it is spoken to one of the most acclaimed warrior of his time, at the time when he's on the battlefield about to embark on the greatest battle. So this is a book of action. It's not a book of, like, okay, I'm not, this all work is Maya, and then I cannot engage with the world anymore. So let's explore more. But at the same time, there is a sense of despair. Like Emerson said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. So we do experience, and we are seeing that there's there was a poll by Gallup measuring employee satisfaction, and and they found that 90% of adults, they spend their waking lives doing things they would rather not be doing. So the question of motivation is something that we all struggle with. Like, why should I wake up in the morning, and why should I go through my life and doing the same thing over and over and over again? And that's kind of what Arjuna was asking in his own way, that why should I engage in this battle? So we all need that why. And there is this very famous person, Viktor Frankl, who was actually part of the concentration camp during the Nazi time, and he survived. And he says this, says that if you know the why, then you can tolerate anyhow. And he said the people who survived the concentration camps were people who knew why, what they wanted to do with themselves once they were released. So, so having a sense of purpose, why am I doing what I'm doing? That is, that helps us engage with our work from a completely different perspective.
This is a famous video. This guy talks about, if you know the why, then the how becomes very easy.
The same agencies, the same consultants, the same media, then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered. There's something else at play here. That world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, I call it the golden circle.
I think that the audio is very bad. Should we just maybe share the...
This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer from me? All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple.
Okay. Were you guys able to hear or? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Vidarbha, I think looks you're frozen.
Am I? No, I'm okay.
Okay, I thought you were frozen.
I was just thinking that somebody might think, okay, what's that got to do with the Bhagavad Gita? But it's amazing, right? Because this is exactly what Arjuna is asking. Why should I do something? Right? Why should I engage in this? And Krishna is actually taking him to a deeper place. Let's talk about the why. Let's talk about, for example, this whole chapter on Karma Yoga is precisely that. So yeah, go ahead.
So this is what happens. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when we don't know the why. Without knowing the why, whatever we are attached to, whatever, it could be religion, it could be our work, it could be family, it could be anything. It's very easy to give it up when we don't know the why.
That's actually such a good point, right? Because especially in India, like it happened to you as well. Growing up in India, most of the things that were happening, you didn't know the reason why people were following that, and then immediately you think, oh, this is all doesn't really have a purpose, and it's very easy to give up. Whatever tradition or whatever religion or spirituality one follows. And so one has to, this is actually very interesting because the Vedanta Sutra starts with this aphorism. It says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, which means that now that we have a human form, let's inquire, let's ask this question, why? And so the whole Bhagavad Gita is actually a question and answer. And the Vedic texts are also all in that same format, that people are encouraged to ask difficult questions and also grapple with difficult questions. No question is off limits.
So, I mean, this example is just to show that when the Communist Party came into power in Russia, they set up a table outside the church and giving out free bread. And people were really hungry, and they would say, why go to the church? You're not getting your bread there. So we'll provide you bread. Why do you need to go to the church? And so as a result, so many people actually gave up the church. They became atheists, and they become followers of this Communist Party because they didn't have a why.
Oh, this is one of my favorite stories about, goes back to the same point about this man who has this thing that, okay, I'm going to give up everything, go to the Himalayas, sit in a cave, and just, he takes permission from his guru. And he says, I'm just going to take a Bhagavad Gita with me. So he goes into this cave, and then he starts living in this cave. And then after a few days, he starts to notice that there are some mice there in the cave, and that's really bothering his meditation. So then he thinks, okay, what do I do now? So he thinks, okay, let me get a cat, because that would take care of my mice problem. So then he gets a cat. So now the cat comes, and now the cat eats away all the mice, and at least he is now peaceful. But now he's confronted with another problem, which is that the cat needs milk. So then he thinks, how am I going to feed this cat? So go ahead. I'll just open the door.
Yeah, so in order to feed the cat, he thinks I should get a cow that will give milk, and I'll feed the cat. So he gets a cow, and now a cow is too much work taking care of the cow. He says, I can't do it alone. I need a partner. So he says, okay, let me get married, and my wife and me together will take care of the cow. And so soon the wife comes and then follows children, and then he has a very thriving family life inside this cave. And one day, his guru comes there just to check on him, and he sees that he doesn't see a disciple reading Bhagavad Gita. He sees a disciple busy playing with his children and wife and taking care of the house and cow and cat. And he says, "What happened?" And this guy replies, "It all started with the Bhagavad Gita, Guruji."
So I guess the point being that, there is no running away. Like sometimes people think, oh, I'm just going to take up spiritual life and just run away to some place. And, wherever we run, we're going to go with our karma. We're going to go with our mind and our consciousness. So what Krishna actually encourages us to stay where we are in whatever position and actually make the changes in our consciousness rather than necessarily making changes externally.
So artificial renunciation doesn't take us anywhere.
In fact, that artificial renunciation is very dangerous because we see that so much havoc is created in society because of these bogus swamis. And, every so often you hear of the swami whose private life is exposed, and, he's seen doing all kinds of crazy things. And then people's faith is really shaken up and they think, what's the difference between material life and spiritual life? It is because when we don't practice spirituality with a certain degree of authenticity and honesty, then we just become an unnecessary havoc. And this is a story of this fox who covers himself. He falls into this container of dye, and he becomes purple. And then everybody starts thinking, oh, this is a special animal who has entered our jungle, and he's the king now. And he also starts to believe that, oh, I'm the king now, and I'm the savior of this forest. But then, he gets, I think he enters into the field at night or something, and the farmer chases after him with a stick. And at that time, his real self comes out. And then everybody says, oh, this was no special king. He's just a fox.
He actually starts howling. He hears the howling of other jackals. One night, these jackals, they are attacked by dogs or something, so they start howling. And when this jackal or fox, she hears this howling, her real nature comes out, and she also starts howling. She joins them. And when the other animals see her howling, say, oh, this is just a regular fox, nothing special about her. And then they just beat her to death for cheating them. So artificial renunciation, actually, we should renounce artificial renunciation in our lives, and be also able to see it in others. We don't want to be followers of people who follow artificial renunciation.
And the reason why,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
You complete.
Huh?
No, you finish your thought, and then I'll.
No. I'm done with that thought. Go ahead.
So this is a video of again. There's a very special, interesting river somewhere, I think near Banaras only. It's called Falgu River, and on the top it's all sand and solid ground. Looks like it's solid ground, but let's see what happens.
Okay, start. Falgu Nadi mein गड्ढा खोल
Dry bed.
पानी आ गया
There's a lot of water there. So this is actually kind of what happens with artificial renunciation, that it seems like we can pause this video.
I want to see the water.
Again,
You continue. Yeah, see the water here.
So we see that it may seem that the bed, externally it may seem that the bed is dry, but internally there are strong currents of desires, material desires and proclivities. And so that's another reason. So this kind of artificial renunciation is sometimes referred to as Falgu renunciation. Falgu means this river that looks dry on the outside, but it has a lot of currents.
Falgum is also false. Sometimes in India, when people go to a cremation ground, taking the body of their beloved or somebody, then when they reach the cremation ground, when they see the body burning, then renunciation arises in their heart. Oh, this world is useless. When I go back home, I'll renounce this world and I'll become like a spiritual person. But as soon as they get home, they get absorbed in normal activities. So this renunciation that arises in their heart in the cremation ground is called Markat Vairagya or Falgu Vairagya, which means again the renunciation just happening on the cremation ground, and doesn't really serve any purpose. So the concept of just giving up work or retiring from our active life is not something recommended by Bhagavad Gita, because that's not going to take care of our inner desires. Rather, how we should be active in life and at the same time act in such a way that we become spiritually advanced and purify all our this river current of desires. That's the art.
So maybe we can pause here. We've been speaking. Oh, maybe we can pause after this. So this is another very nice. This is one of my favorite lines from the Bhagavad Gita. This is from the purport. A sincere street sweeper is better than a charlatan meditator. So again, an emphasis on being real, on being authentic, and being honest in our spiritual practices, and not trying to pretend that I'm some special person, but just being really aware of our struggles and practicing it with that level of humility is actually better. And at the same time, continuing on with our work is better than just being some big Baba or some big guru and then attracting a lot of followers and just cheating them, with money or whatever. So that's Bhagavad Gita. And the reason why this is all being said is because we talked about karma. So our natural response to karma could be that, okay, I'm just going to renounce everything. But renunciation is not a way out of karma, as we can see. Because even if you renounce everything, like we saw in the case of the man with the Bhagavad Gita, he goes to the cave, his real nature will surface up again. And then the other reason why renunciation is not an option is because if you're not purified, then we'll just become a disturbance to the rest of society. So should we take reflections at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So reflection is actually quite an important part, because it allows it's like you're able to now take something with you in your own pocket, and you can claim that as your nugget of wisdom. So please share something that you've heard that you would like to take with you. Yes, Matt, go ahead.
I like the idea that you guys talked about with kind of yoga. It seems like it's a way to kind of mix work and spirituality together. And this idea of like being detached from the results or not being too concerned about the success or failure. I just know in my life, like with my personal experiences, when I'm very concerned about the outcome and I want success or I don't want failure, I can be very kind of clingy to stuff and trying to control it and just feel like very stressed out. And I actually kind of feel like weak in my action when that's the case. And times where I can kind of let go of that stuff, I feel like I have more power and I'm a little bit more free.
Yeah. Really good point. We're actually going to talk about that. There's a theory about it. It's called the flow theory. And they talk about this, that, you can kind of go into your flow zone when you let go of all of your attachments to, to the results. And people say that it's in that flow zone, then your most creative self emerges. So we'll actually talk about that as well. Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for your wonderful reflection. Anybody else?
Okay, we can jump back into our presentation.
And let's just take a moment, because I think it's a good idea to kind of, please go ahead. Don't be shy. Usha, Amitabh, Purnima, Misha. Hmm. It's a quiet group today. Okay, so I guess, yes, sure.
Express. Yeah, it's hard to express, but yes, understanding is there.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Any one thing that you want to take with you so far?
I mean, it's very well, that cave story is very well put the point across, where
Yeah.
you feel you can just run away from things, but eventually things just catch up, and then how you balance it is what is the outcome of spirituality, is what I understood.
Very nice, Misha. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yes.
Yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
very.
Yes, Usha. All right, so now let's get back. I somehow like the idea of dividing these sessions into 2 sessions, because that way we're not rushing through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You finish this one.
So you want me to finish this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is another picture about, the blind leading the blind and everyone falls in a ditch. So again, same idea here that, when we don't know how to work in society, why we should work in society, and then we have charlatan meditators all taking us for a ride, then what happens is that, people are always looking for a role model. And here is another reason why we should work, and we'll get into that later. Krishna actually speaks about it. He says, even if you are self-realized, even if you have become an expert person, expert yogi, one should still continue to work, because people are looking for a role model, right? Otherwise, people just follow an imposter and they all fall in a ditch. So let's continue.
This is a long story. Do you remember?
Yeah, let's forget about it. I think the point is, yeah, it's a nice, funny story. But I think we've already kind of made that point, so maybe we don't need to.
Yeah, you can read the story on this link.
Yeah.
So I guess another point that Krishna makes is that we work according to our nature. We work in this consciousness of Akarma, not just for our own benefit, but also to make a positive impact in the society. The society is looking for good role models who are well situated in life and who are engaged in on their honest work, and yet they are spiritual. Such role models are very, very rare. But then every one of us is actually a role model for somebody. We have a circle of influence, and everybody's like a mother, a father, a teacher. Everybody has an impact on so many people. So just to set the right example, Krishna says, yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tat eva tarojana sa eva pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. Whatever an example a great person sets, others like to follow. And therefore, it's important for us to set the right example. And that's why he wanted Arjuna to set the right example. Because had Arjuna left the battlefield and run away to the forest as a monk, it would create havoc in the society, because then people would abandon their duties, people would abandon their responsibilities and act whimsically, which would create havoc in the society. So therefore, this concept of acting in our position, working with this right consciousness, creates a very positive influence in the society.
So according to so there's a survey that says that in one's lifetime, if you meet an average of 3 people every day, so then we can at least impact 80,000 lives just living our normal life. So actually, each one of us, we have a responsibility. I mean, Margaret Mead said that never underestimate the power of a small group of people to make a change in the world. That is the only way it has ever happened. So a small group of people coming together to be the change they want to see in the world is very, very powerful. And the Bhagavad Gita is actually imploring, urging everyone that, each one of us, we should become a teacher in just not by speaking, but also by our behavior and our practices. We can actually make a change in the world. And in that way, we contribute, to the overall well-being of this world. So we can continue.
This is another interesting story, but running out of time.
Yeah.
So again, speaking through our actions rather than just speaking big words, I guess is the theme what Krishna is advising Arjuna. And this is another concept for working. You're working for self-purification. We're not just working just to earn money or enjoy. We need that also, but the inner focus is that I'm working for purification. And therefore, work should not be renounced. And one should not live at the cost of others. This is Krishna's direct advice.
And this is also an aspect of akarma. When we work to purify ourselves, then our work is no longer just meant for our personal enjoyment, but it becomes it becomes an instrument of our purification. So right there, we are entering into the realm of akarma.
Yeah, this focus. And this is what Krishna is saying in 2nd chapter, text 49, O Dhananjaya, which is another name for Arjuna. Keep all abominable activities far distant by, he says, Buddhi Yoga, which is devotional service. And in that consciousness, surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. The man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So this is kind of a marriage between yoga and work. Sometimes people think that I can only be spiritual outside of my work situation. But no, Krishna is saying, while you are engaged in the work, you can be in yoga. So this is like taking the concept of yoga out of the yoga studios, out of the caves of Himalayas, and bringing it to our your cubicle, your computer, or whatever you're doing in life. You can be a yogi being any of what you do.
So how do we practice the yoga of work? So that's divided into 3 parts. I'm just wondering if we should do this part next time and take questions right now, or do you want to jump into it? So Matt also has to go. Okay, so maybe we then, just, we won't continue since Matt has to go and Amitabh has also had to go. So
Yeah,
maybe
so
we,
let's just stop here then, yeah.
this is a very good place to stop, because next time what we can do is we can talk about what does yoga work look like? What is the law of dharma? What is the law of detachment? What is the law of service? How can work actually be made into yoga? So we'll stop here and we'll just take questions, any reflections, or anything you want to talk about, since we are a very small group of us this time. So